Hello, and welcome to our faculty session with Robert Hoyle, retired principal horn of Hartford Symphony, retired professor of horn at the University of Connecticut, and founder of the group Harmonia V. I'm your staff moderator, Kyle Schober, an active teacher and freelancer in the central Pennsylvania area, and a recent master's graduate from Penn State University. This session is brought to you as part of the online KBHC experience, our gift to the horn community. Before we begin, please take a moment to familiarize yourself with the controls at the bottom of the screen. Questions posted to the Q&A can be upvoted by clicking on the thumbs up icon that appears below each question. Please post any questions you have for Mr. Hoyle in the Q&A rather than the chat. Comments posted in the chat may be sent either to all panelists or all panelists and attendees. Your panelists for the session are myself, Robert Hoyle, and our masterclass participants, Sebastian Villegas and Brooklyn McGonigal. If you choose to post to all panelists and attendees, everyone viewing today's session will be able to see what you've written. You may use this function, but we want you to be aware of who will see what you write. Please use discretion and try to keep comments on topic with this session. With that, I'll hand the session off to Robert Hoyle.
Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm also very excited there are so many people who are in attendance with the KBHC online experience this year. This is we're all faculty and staff, or board of directors are all very excited about this. For those of you who've been to camp before, I'm going to talk about some things that you probably have heard me talk about before, and but they are also things that we all need to be reminded of from time to time, and that is really very basic fundamentals. Those of you who know me and know my playing know that sound production is very, very important to me, and making sure that you're producing your sound efficiently, clearly, and basically, I don't want to say effortlessly, but with as little extraneous effort as possible. I've got a few bullet points here I just want to hit on really quickly, because unfortunately I've got 2 hours worth of material to cover in 1 hour, or actually 20 minutes or so, 15-20 minutes. The first thing would be breathing. Now, we all know how to breathe. You take a breath in and you let it out. And if you don't know how to do that, then you're unfortunately incompatible with life, I think. Breathing while playing an instrument is a little different than breathing while you're walking down the street. So what I like to talk about as far as that is actually, well, let's say you hear many teachers saying, well, you have to breathe. Well, you can't quite see in you have to breathe down here. And in a way that's true. But I don't think it really explains it as fully as it could. And so what I try to talk about is to not only use abdominal muscles, but also use your obliques and all the way into the back. And so, in other words, I like to see people using the entire core set of muscles when they're doing their breathing. If you look at Randy Gardner's book, his book on low horn playing, there's one little place, he even has a photograph there of someone sitting in the chair. He says, use your back. And by that he has, what he does is he puts his hands on the outsides of someone's lower back and has them take a breath. And if you can feel that expand, then you know you're expanding in the right place. Okay, so like I said, we sort of have to do the Reader's Digest version of all this due to time constraints. But okay, so that would cover. Well, one more thing about the inhaling. Let's talk about inhaling down low versus inhaling up here in your chest. I'll fill up my chest. There. I'm full. And so what I do is I filled up my chest, and then I expanded the core area down lower, and it turned out that I was only expanding or taking in half the amount of air that I can possibly take in. Now, exhaling in your attack, exhaling in support, starting your note. What you want to try to avoid after you inhale is to hold it there. What you want to do is what you want to do is move the air in, move the air out. So if you can hear my breath over the internet in goodness knows how many corners of the earth. So what I'm trying to do is it's like up and down. It's not up, hold, and down. It's just up and down. The next question I ask my students, okay, well, so when you do this, do you push down here? Do you push in and up or out and down? And my answer to that, who knows, there may be those who disagree, but my answer to that is to push out and down. The reason for that is because if you're doing the support work down in your lower abdominal area, that leaves your shoulders and your chest, your throat, your tongue, the inside of the mouth. It allows you to relax all these areas, because all these areas in your body they're all resonating chambers. And if you talk to any singer, any great singer, your body in itself is a resonating chamber, and it's very important for you to be able to get that sound to really fill the room without having to force it. So next, let's go on to my next little bullet point here, and that's tonguing. Now, I'm not going to give you a big treatise on tonguing. I'm going to give you a simple, very simple treatise on tonguing. I grew up having read the Farkas book, and in the Farkas book, when he talks about tongue placement, he says to get the tip of your tongue up into the corner between the top of your top teeth and your hard palate. And so that's what I did for a while. Yet when I turned about 30 years old, I started running into some problems, and I really went into a slump in my playing, and it became really quite worrisome. What it turned out I was doing is when I would tongue that way, I would end up having too much surface area of my tongue on the hard palate. And so instead of pulling my tongue away cleanly, I would end up sort of peeling my tongue away. And so I wasn't getting clean attacks. I was playing on the sharp side, and when I could get an attack to speak, it didn't have the right character to it. So I went back to a master class by one of the real great horn players who ever played in this country. We talked about that a little bit, and he told me, get the tip of the tongue on the bottom of your top teeth. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's not what Farkas says. So what now? But I just kind of stored that away in my brain. And then, so when I started having problems with this, I just said, well, I'll try it. And I just took a middle G, I took a breath, and I tongued the note, and it came out exactly the way I wanted to. It was a very relaxed sound. My pitch had come down. The note spoke immediately, and it spoke cleanly. And I said to myself, that was just a fluke. Let me try it again. I tried it again, and it was good again. And so I spent several hours that day working on that. And as a matter of fact, it was just after my symphony season had ended when I had decided to try to put all this back together. And so I spent the rest of the summer just working on this tonguing and not doing anything fancy or difficult, just being very simple with it. And I went back the next year, and bang, my playing had come right back together. And so I do teach that. I have talked about it with several several of this country's really great players, and many, if not most of them, usually do tongueless way. Embouchure. Embouchure is simple. My idea about embouchure is this: if it works, don't fix it. Because there are many top professional players that have some pretty strange looking embouchures out there. And I'm not going to tell them that they're wrong because they sound glorious. If you have an embouchure that's a bit non-standard and you're having problems, well, then we have to look at some things. My basic rules for embouchure are pretty much the same as what most other people say, and that's 2/3 upper lip, 1/3 lower lip, firm corners, and keeping your chin flat. Don't bunch up the skin on your chin. Keep that chin flat. So in other words, you're going to pull the bottom lip down just a little bit to really keep that anchored. And that'll really... Are we running short on time here?
Yeah, horribly sorry to interrupt this great flow of information, but if we could just wrap it up so we can work with the masterclass participants pretty soon.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay, so that's embouchure. Slurs and note connections. Okay, let's talk about slurs for just a second. When slurring between two notes, the rule is really very simple. You go from the center of the first note directly to the center of the second note. Okay? Everyone knows that. I know that. You know that. We all know that. But not all of us really are really focused on that all the time. And so knowing that you're going to go directly from the first note, center of the first note to center of the second note, think about this. Which is the more important note of the slur, the first note or the second note? And I maintain it's the first note. And the reason for that is if you're not focused and centered on that first note, it's going to be very difficult to get to the second note. It's like climbing rocks. You have to have a good foothold on the first one before you can step up to the second one. And that goes for many tongued note changes as well. Just making sure that you're focused on the note before you move. And then, of course, you know, keeping your airspeed constant or increasing if needed when you get to the second note to make sure that note is also focused. Okay, so we have a couple of people that want to do some playing here. Who do we have first?
So first is going to be Brooklyn McGonigal, and I will let her introduce herself, and we will have just under 20 minutes to work with both of them.
Okay, good.
20 minutes, just under 20 minutes for each of them, sorry.
Very good.
Hi, my name is Brooklyn McGonigal. I go to Valdosta State University in Valdosta, Georgia, and I'm going into my junior year there. I will be playing the Wagner short call first.
I just want to say welcome, Brooklyn, and
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to this. I heard you weren't, I heard you doing a few things beforehand, and it really sounds pretty exciting.
Thank you.
Okay, good strong ending there. Now, let me ask you this: what do you worry about in this?
I'm really going for the gesture of the music. So I'm really thinking it's really gallant, courageous, because if I remember correctly, we're riding on a horse, you know, going off with a shield and a sword.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Have you ever seen the old movie of Robin Hood, starring Errol Flynn? Have you ever seen that?
There's a possibility, but considering I don't know who Aaron Flynn is, maybe not.
Yeah, Errol Flynn. Yeah. Oh,
Errol
yeah.
Flynn.
He was very, very famous movie star back in when the world was in black and white. Um, but in any case, he could give you a sense of bravado that would just make you sit there and go, "Wow!" I mean, he had that. He really had that wow factor, and I think you have that wow factor in you, but you're not quite showing all of it to me. Um, and I'm going to tell you to do something really simple. Two little simple things that I think can really help improve that. First of all, when you have that da dee da 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 dum, when you have the bumpy, your first note. I would say on your first note, um, put a rooftop on that note. So in other words, I want you to give me a good downbeat accent, but I want it to be short as well. Okay?
Okay.
Because I think da dee da 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 dum sounds better than da dee da 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 dum. Do you understand? Do you see what I'm saying there?
Yep.
Play that note short, and the other thing I was going to say, see if you can play it a little bit faster.
Okay.
Okay. Don't worry about missing notes. Okay. Miss your notes here. Miss your notes now. Don't miss them in Carnegie Hall. Okay. Good. 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 Do it again. Now, can you play it a little louder? And I say this because you're way backstage when you're playing this. And granted, the orchestra's going to come down, but I've had to play this in concerts a few times, and they'd put me in a closet way backstage somewhere, okay? And I'd play it, and the conductor would shout out, louder! And so, you really have to be prepared to do that, okay? So really lay it out for me, okay, with everything you've got. Good, I like that better now. Don't forget about that short first note. Okay, like I say, really put one of these on top of it. Okay. Do you ever play any commercial music?
No, I can't say that I do.
Okay, so I actually I do sometimes, and I'm going to tell you something right now. If a note has a rooftop on it, and you play that note long, first trumpet player is going to give you goodness knows what. Okay. And they'll tell you to play it short once. They're not going to tell you twice. So, yeah. So really, da dee da 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 dum. Okay. Now you're getting somewhere. I think that had a lot of really good character to it. And again, this is what you want to do. You want to have the character here, right? Okay. Now, let's play the fun part. Okay, good. Boy, you are strong up there. Good for you. Now, let me ask you this, and I've heard you play this a few times, both before both before the broadcast and now. Sometimes you have a little bit of a problem, it seems, with your A.
Yeah, it can be a little tricky for me.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it doesn't seem to have as defined of a slot as like the B or the G. Am I right about that?
Yeah, especially when it changes the pattern, I get really stuck into the da 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 da, and the A is the change, and I think I always just skip over it.
Yeah. What kind of horn is that? And I'm asking you for a reason.
It's a Hans Hoyer 6801.
Oh, it's a Hoyer. Okay. Um, I'm going to ask you to try something. Try playing that A open.
Okay.
And I don't know what the intonation on that particular horn is like when you play it open. It might not work, you know. But let's just try it and see what happens.
Okay.
Okay, you played one open, you played one of them, 1 and 2. How did the open one feel?
The open one felt really good.
Yeah. Here's the problem with that note, and it might not be on your horn, but I think on more horns it is like this than there are horns that aren't like that. And that is, a lot of times that note, if you play it thumb and open, it's a little bit flat. You play it thumb 1 and 2, and it's a little bit sharp. I know my horns, actually one of my horns is like that. One of my other horns, they're both exactly the same. And the other one's a descant horn, and I always play it on the high F horn. So, you know, it's just a roll of the dice with me, with my instruments. But I find that it's easier to play that note and push it up just a little bit when you're in that high range than it is to take a 1 and 2 finger that's dicey to begin with and try to pull it down. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And I think in this case, it goes by so quickly that you can really pretty much ignore the fact that maybe it is a little bit low. But I know I used to have an old communist era Hans Hoyer. It was the Geyer shaped one, but mine was made back in the early 1970s. And boy, that horn had a great high A. Anyway, I could play it thumb and 1, it'd still come out great. So you have to really get to know your instrument. And really experiment with it and find out exactly, you know, what's going to feel best. Try that again, and let's see if you can. Let's see how it feels. And when you play all of your A's, just thumb and open. Now, I'm not saying you have to do this all the time, but I'm saying it's one of these things you want to look at and experiment with. Talk to me.
It felt really nice on the first one. The second one I nearly forgot to do open, so it was kind of like a moment.
I'll be honest with you, it didn't sound that way. So
Excellent.
I think you had the whole world fooled. So now the other thing I'm going to ask you to do, and this is the hard thing to do it with this, and I want you to play that really. You got to really lay into that second half of the call as well. And I know what you're doing. You came down a little bit, and then you're making a rush up to the end. And I think that, you know, that's a good thoughtful thing to do. I'm just trying to think here. Yeah, it still has to be, if you can get it just a little bit stronger. And I'm saying that because you're going to be way backstage, and as you're climbing up, what's the orchestra doing?
Getting louder.
Yeah. And so you've got to fight with that. And you're putting all of that effort into nailing that high C, and nobody hears it. You don't want that to happen, right? So see if you can build up the strength a little bit to that. I have a secret weapon for this excerpt. I throw a smaller mouthpiece in, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. What it does is it not only helps my high range, helps make the getting up to that high C more secure, but also it's a brighter sound, and so you get more of a fanfare type character out of it. Now, again, I'm not saying you got to go out and buy a new mouthpiece. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that sometimes a change of, well, let me put it this way: the right tool for the job. You've heard that expression before, I'm sure. And for me, that was the right tool. And I use that same mouthpiece for Beethoven's Seventh as well, and it has never failed me. So, despite the fact that the normal mouthpiece I play, I've been playing since I was 15 years old.
Wow.
I've messed around with so many different things, and I always come back and I put that mouthpiece in, and it's home. And so, now that I've given you a chance to get a little bit of oxygen back in your lip, play it for me. No. Hold on. From the very beginning. This is your audition. Or no, actually, better yet, you're backstage now. Okay? It's real strength. You forgot to play the first note short, and you forgot to play those A's open. Did you realize that?
Not until right after.
But I'll tell you, I think, you've got some good strength there. And how old are you?
That's a great question. I'm 20.
Uh-huh. Good. At your age, you have good strength. And keep yourself strong, but don't overdo it. And the reason I say that is because what you don't want to do is to end up really straining your muscles. Because if you injure yourself at your age, and at the place in your development where you are, it could be a tough recovery. So be good and strong, but don't overdo it. Okay. I'm at my age. I'm a little superstitious. You're only born with so many high C's. And once you use them up, they're gone. In a way, it's true, but so I actually don't practice many high C's. I don't miss many of them, but I don't practice many of them either. So, yeah, get stronger little by little, and by the time 5 years from now, I predict you're going to have monster strength. And that's what you need to be a horn player today. So, all right, good luck. You sound great.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed hearing you.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay, do we have Kyle? Do we have Sebastian?
We do. So I am going to let him introduce himself. If he's here. I think he's here. Aha, there he is.
Hello. It's good to
Ah,
see you, Sebastian.
see you. Nice to get you, Robert.
And welcome.
Hey, here again.
So let me ask you, you're in Munich now, right?
Yes.
Okay. How's your German coming along?
Um, 5 or 6 months
Uh-huh. So
here.
so I can say willkommen and you'll understand me?
Excuse me?
I can say willkommen.
Willkommen. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Session. Session.
Okay. Wie geht's?
Wie geht's? Gut und du?
Sehr gut. Dankeschön. Okay, so I received your piece
Yes.
and I'm thinking, wow, this looks really, really pretty amazing.
Yes, I feel a little nervous.
I've heard you play before. I don't think you need to be nervous. And so this starts down on low A.
Yes.
Mhm.
For a home player.
Yeah. So this really is a low horn piece.
Yes.
Oh, do you want to tell everyone what it is? Announce the piece?
I think in this piece, because it's one Latin American piece, and I am Latin American,
Mhm.
and I think the KBHC is one gate for all the Latin Americans and all the horn players in the world
Hmm.
for give new tools, new skills, and grow co-person. You know,
Right. Hmm. That's what we tried to do.
this is my reason.
Hmm.
Mhm. And this is when the composer is Peruvian, the player is Chilean, and the piece is Argentinian. It's
Right. Hmm.
yeah, it's one piece for the brothers, Latin American brothers.
Right. Hmm. So this is
The
a
reason. I
time.
don't have more reasons.
So this is Tangito by Dante Yank. Is that how? Did I
Yankee,
pronounce it
yes.
correctly?
Yeah, yes. Dante Yankee is from player playing. He was playing in Dresden first, in State Opera Dresden, after
Yeah.
in the theater Cologne Theater in Argentina. After it's solo horn in OCESP in Brazil, Estatal States Sao Paulo Orchestra, and now stay in Colombia.
Hmm.
And is one very good player, is one very good composer, and this is my honor. It's one honor to play this piece for me and play for you and play in KBHC today. It's a place.
Okay, good. Let's hear you play it.
Okay.
Before you do that, can we have you introduce yourself just for people in the audience who may not?
Excuse me.
Could we have you say a little bit about yourself for people in the audience who may not know you, where you're from?
Okay. I am Sebastian Villegas. I'm from Chile. I study first with Edward Brown in the Catholic University in Chile. After studying in Brazil with Adarto Suarez and Luis Garcia. After over my studies with Nuri Warnas Kelly in Brass Academy Alicante. Now I stay with one scholarship in the State Opera Berlin Academy with Ignacio Garcia Solhorn and take some lessons, private lessons with Matias Millero Solhorn Invention Philharmoniker. I win the job, the principal horn in National Symphony Orchestra 5 years ago in Chile, but now I stay in Berlin. Berlin. I stay here in Munich because have a little works in this moment here, but I live in Berlin. This is my life.
Good. Excellent. So let's hear you play.
Okay.
Excellent. Bravo. That was very
Thank you
good.
very much.
I'm going to ask you to do something with your computer. Can you turn your microphone down just a little bit?
Okay.
Just a little.
Okay. Now.
Now, just start the piece again. Maybe the first 2 or 3 bars.
The 4 bars?
Yeah, 4 bars. Yeah, just first few bars.
Okay.
Because I want to listen to the sound. Okay, okay. And turn it down just a little more.
More. I try it. Okay.
Okay. Now, let's talk about some interpretation. Okay?
Yeah.
This is a really interesting piece. And I think it's, as far as the character goes, it's a very, very good tango.
Yes.
I think, though, there are times when you're missing some of the dynamics. And I'm talking about when things get softer. Bum ba-da-dum, bum bum be-dum, ba-da-dee-dum, bum bum be-dum, bum 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 ba-da-dum, bum bum bum. Like, do you see what I'm talking about?
Yes, I follow you, but the dancers
Yeah.
have one hard step, one strong step, you know? Pa, 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 pa.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. I understand.
For,
You make a good point there.
yeah.
Beam, bum, bum, da da dum, beam, ba da dum, bum, bum, beam. Okay,
Yes.
I'll buy that. I'll buy that. And I admire that because, yes, you did ignore what he wrote, but you had a very good reason for it.
Yes.
Okay, so very good. Now, let's talk about some of the tempo things. We have the tempo di tango in the opening, and then we have a lento pesante.
Yes.
Now, are you doing that more with style or more with tempo?
I listen a lot bandoneon players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And with when have in the partiture in the score lento pesante, just play more longer, but not more slow.
Okay.
Change the time.
All right.
Just play more.
So
longer
you're
notes.
thinking more pesante and less lento.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Now, where it says molto rapido, I want you to do something for me. I want you to play it very slowly, just this once.
Yeah.
Okay? And the reason is because sometimes it's not as clean as I know you want it to be.
Okay.
Okay, do you understand? So let's play through a few sections of it very, very slowly. So about that tempo.
Sorry, just one note before you do that. Sebastian, when you're speaking, could you move closer to your mic so we can hear you better?
Okay.
When you're
Now it's
speaking.
okay.
Yeah, just
Yeah?
when you're speaking, but when you're playing, it sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Excuse me, Robert. I play
Yes.
now.
Yes,
Okay.
please. Let's go back again. Go back again. No, do it again.
Yeah.
Okay, stop. In bar 25,
Yeah.
beat 4. Okay? The D.
Okay.
I want to hear you play that D, and I want to hear it in focus.
In the first note in the 26.
No, the in 25,
24. 5. Yeah.
in 25, right on beat 4, just boom,
Yeah, okay.
that note.
Okay.
Good. Good. You're giving me a beautiful sound there. But that's not the sound you're giving me when you're playing the phrase. Do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. So what's happening sometimes is as you get into some of these things, you're losing the focus of pitch a little bit. And
Right,
so it's
totally.
starting to sound just the tiniest bit sloppy. And I know you can do better because you just played me a beautiful low B. I mean D. You played a beautiful low D. And I would like to hear that D in the phrase.
Okay. Okay.
And that's why I wanted you to play it slowly. I'm going to be stupid here and try to play something. Okay?
Yes.
See
Yes.
how when I got to the D was focused?
Yes. I
On-
feel
on
I,
B4?
I
So-
listen.
Good. Now let me hear you do that.
Okay.
Good. Bravo, bravo. Not only was the D better, but all of those lower. The C sharp was better. The C, and all of those things that you were leaping down to had better focus that time. And so it makes your line cleaner.
Okay.
And I know that's a difficult thing to do. Now,
Yes.
play it slowly one more time, and then we'll go back and try and play it fast, okay?
Okay.
So slow, then fast.
Okay. One moment. I need the water. The water. One moment.
Okay. Now there were some that were a little out of focus, and then some that were very good. Okay. So you have to make sure that when you land on those notes, you land on them with both feet on the ground. Do you understand that? And that it's not a little bit like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And that makes the whole line cleaner.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes. I think it's. I need play with a more continuous air.
Yes. I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know. And you know something?
Yeah.
I don't want you to get me wrong. You're doing a wonderful job with this piece.
Mm-hmm.
But you're a really good player, and I want to get as much out of you as I possibly can.
Yes.
Do you
I
understand? And so
Yes.
I want to push you. I want to push you a little bit harder
Okay.
because I think you can do it.
Okay.
Does that make
That's right.
sense to you?
Yeah.
So, and then when you get down to say the first ending,
Yeah.
practice that slow as well, because every single note in there should be very, very clear.
Okay.
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 Now,
Playing the bar 30.
20. Let's go 29.
29. Okay.
29, and then take the first ending.
Okay.
But don't go all the way back to the beginning.
Okay.
So end at the end of that bar.
Okay.
And once again. Good. Now, let's go all the way back to bar 25 and play it. Bar 25 in tempo.
Okay, and just to add to that, I think we should think about wrapping up soon so we have plenty of time to answer everyone's questions.
Got it. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll just do this one section, then we'll go to questions. Go ahead. Bar 25, yes. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes, there was maybe one note or two that
Yeah.
weren't quite as clear, but the rest of it was very, very good. And a real pleasure to hear. So,
Thank you.
all right, we should probably go to questions now. I thank you for playing. It was absolutely my pleasure. And I hope to see you in New Hampshire again. If at Horn
I
Camp.
hope, I hope the next year.
Or somewhere else. I'm a
Yeah,
fan. I'm
yeah.
a fan of yours. So keep working hard.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I want return to Ogon's the more faster is possible.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all
Thank you for the lesson. Thank you for this opportunity for all the KBHC.
Well, thank you. Thank you again. It
Thank
was
you
my
very much.
pleasure. And I'd like to thank Brooklyn as well.
Yeah.
So Brooklyn, you know, you're really going in the right direction as well. So okay. So do you want to do questions now, Kyle?
Yeah, so we have about 5 questions, and right now the top one is from Sandy Gettings. Earlier you were talking about tonguing at the bottom of the top teeth. She says Dale Clevenger has suggested the same thing and wants to know what you think of Eli Epstein's idea of moving the articulation point higher in the mouth with higher pitches. And she says that personally it seems to help her with clean and reliable articulation in the upper range.
Actually, I'm really glad you asked that because I know about Eli's ideas on that, and I think that both Dale Clevenger and Eli are correct on this. Now, the thing about with Eli with Eli, what he does is he'll have his tongue going up and down depending on what register he's in. The thing you have to be very careful about is when you get into the high register, not to get your tongue to go so high up that you start blocking off your airstream. You see, and that does happen. And I'll be honest with you, I lie to my students. I say, don't arch your tongue up. Just don't do it. Fully knowing that they will. I just don't want them to do it too much. You see? So, and of course, when you go down into your low register, you really have to, really have to really open up and draw. It's like singing, you have to really open up that resonating cavity, and you'll be able to get that stuff to ring out more. So yes, Dale Clevenger and Eli are both correct. As far as what I like to see. So I hope that helps.
Great. Our next question comes from M. Lowry, who asks, what mouthpiece do you use? Saying she's been looking for a smaller mouthpiece to help with the high register, and I'm curious what you use because you really seem to love it.
Well, that's a really good question. First of all, I want to tell you that mouthpieces are very personal. The mouthpiece that I would recommend for you would be the one that fits the best. They're like shoes. Well, I wear a size 9. A size 9 is the very best size. And so you should wear a size 9 too. But what if you have size 10 feet? So a size 9 isn't going to do you any good. You have to use what fits you the best. I had a very good teacher when I was in high school, and he studied with Chambers at Juilliard back in the early 1950s, and so he was into that really big mouthpiece thing. Okay, he played a C1 and sometimes a Giardinelli C1 and a Giardinelli B1. A C1 is what James Chambers played, and a B1 was Myron Bloom took a C1 and opened it up a little bit. So he took the biggest mouthpiece that money could buy and made it bigger. And so that's what he played. And he said, "Here, I'm going to give you this C8, and then eventually you're going to have to move to a C1." And so I took this C8 and I just started playing it, and it just worked for me. And I never moved down to or up or down, however you want to say, to a C1. Of course, now there may be some people who play mouthpieces that big these days, but not many. And there aren't that many people that play mouthpieces as big as what I play. So I think you should work with your teacher or whoever you're working with and really do trust and find something that works for both you as a person and also matches your horn well. So.
Great. Our next question is from Isabella, who says, I practice my higher register a lot, and you talked about injury if you overdo it. How can you injure it?
You pull muscles. It's like if you're lifting weights, you can have injuries from weightlifting. If you're doing heavy lifting and bending over, did you ever pull a muscle in your back? Well, these muscles are doing a lot of work here, and if you overstrain something, you can tear muscles. Or you can pull muscles, you can overwork muscles. And now, I'm not going to say don't make yourself tired, because the opposite end of it is, of course, no pain, no gain. But I will say, don't get to the point where you just can't play anymore. And then it's always a good idea to warm down. And to warm down, what I usually do is I work on pedal tones. So go the opposite of the high stuff that I've been doing. And I started doing pedal tones probably about 10 years ago. I had always played first horn, high horn my whole life. And then when I left, I left my job in the Hartford Symphony. I started freelancing, and of course, when you're freelancing, you sit in the chair where they tell you to sit. And so I had to learn how to play low horn, and so I started working on those pedal tones and things, and it really did help the rest of the flexibility in my overall playing. So, go hard, but don't go too hard.
Great. Unfortunately, I think that is just about all the time we have to answer questions. So once again, thank you to Robert Hoyle for sharing his expertise with us, and a special thank you to our masterclass participants for sharing their playing with us today. Here's a rundown of the upcoming events for the rest of the day. At 4 p.m., we have another masterclass with Bill Purvis. At 6 p.m., Stage of Siena will be offering a presentation on the Alexander technique, and at 8:30, we will have a presentation by the U.S. Army Field Band and Clam Night. In the meantime, you can subscribe to our YouTube page by searching for Kendall Betts Horn Camp. You can also find us on Facebook using @KBHornCamp and Instagram using @official_KBHC. We also encourage you to post to social media using #KBHC2020. And we hope to see you again tomorrow online.
Thank you very much.